My name is Robert Hayes, and I'm 62 years old. I'm saying that plainly because at this age, you start to feel like facts matter more than introductions, and because I don't have much interest left in dressing things up. I've spent most of my life preparing for a happiness that never arrived. I didn't know that's what I was doing at the time. I thought I was being responsible, careful, patient. I thought I was building something solid enough to finally rest inside later. I'm telling this now because I'm running out of time. These days, my mornings are quiet in a way that feels permanent. Not peaceful, just settled. I wake up before the sun most mornings, out of habit more than need. My body doesn't let me sleep in anymore. The house is still. No one else is breathing. No one else is moving around. I sit at the small table by the window and look out at the same patch of yard I've been looking at for years. The fence needs repainting. I keep meaning to get to it. I probably won't. That feels like a fair summary of a lot of things now. When you get to this age, time doesn't speed up the way people say. It narrows. The future doesn't feel long or open. It feels specific. Finite. Like a short hallway with the lights already dimmed. I'm not telling this because I want sympathy. I don't need reassurance. I don't even really need understanding. I'm telling it because there's a particular kind of loneliness that comes from realizing you lived exactly the life you planned for, and it still didn't give you what you thought it would. For a long time, I believed happiness was something you earned by delaying it. I grew up believing that if you worked hard enough, kept your head down, didn't complain, and stayed focused, everything would eventually fall into place. Not magically. Not easily. But reliably. Like interest on a savings account. I was good at waiting. In my 20s, I was already thinking ahead. I had a steady job early, nothing glamorous, but solid. I worked in logistics for a regional manufacturing company. Scheduling, inventory, compliance. The kind of work that doesn't make anyone curious at a dinner party, but pays the bills and doesn't surprise you. I told myself surprises were overrated. I rented a small apartment with thin walls and a noisy refrigerator. I didn't decorate much. I figured I'd do that later, when I knew where I was staying. That became a pattern. I lived as if my real life was about to start somewhere else. I dated a little, but not seriously. I was always tired. Or busy. Or distracted. I told myself I'd be a better partner once things calmed down. Once I made a little more money. Once I felt more settled inside my own skin. I didn't realize that once had no deadline. My parents worried about me in that quiet way parents do when they don't want to push. My mother would ask if I was seeing anyone, casually, while rinsing dishes. My father would mention coworkers' kids getting married, as if it were just news. I laughed it off. I said I had time. In my 30s, the job turned into a career. I moved up, slowly but steadily. Supervisor. Manager. More responsibility. Longer hours. Better pay. I bought a modest house because it seemed like the sensible thing to do. I remember standing in the empty living room the first night after closing, surrounded by boxes, feeling something close to pride. I told myself this was the foundation. This was proof I was doing things right. I ate dinner on the floor that night. Takeout, cold by the time I opened it. I didn't notice. Workdays blurred together. Meetings. Emails. Deadlines that always felt important and were forgotten just as quickly. I became dependable. The guy who stayed late. The guy who didn't say no. People liked me for it. Or at least they relied on me. I told myself that mattered. I had friends, but mostly through proximity. Co-workers, I grabbed drinks with occasionally. Neighbors I nodded to. Nothing deep. Nothing demanding. I told myself deep things took time I didn't have yet. My mother got sick when I was 38. Nothing dramatic at first. Just fatigue. Doctor visits. A diagnosis that sounded manageable. I visited when I could. Called more often. Promised I'd come by next weekend. There was always a next weekend. When she passed, it was sudden in the way illness always feels sudden, even when you know it's coming. I remember standing in the hospital hallway afterward, staring at a vending machine, trying to decide if I was hungry. That was the first time I noticed how alone I really was. People were kind. Co-workers sent cards. Someone organized a small collection of flowers. I thanked them all and went back to work sooner than I probably should have. Work was familiar. It didn't ask me questions I couldn't answer. After my father moved into assisted living, I visited him on Sundays. We talked about the weather. About the house. About how things were going at work. We avoided everything else. When he died, there was relief mixed in with the sadness. Relief that I didn't have to schedule visits anymore. That realization sat heavily, but I didn't examine it. I had gotten very good at not examining things. By my 40s, I was doing well by most external measures. Stable income. Paid off car. Decent savings. I took pride in being prepared. I thought preparedness was the same thing as peace. I was wrong, but not in a way that announced itself. It was quieter than that. I started noticing how evenings stretched longer. Weekends felt empty instead of restful. I filled them with errands, projects, and work emails I pretended were urgent. I told myself I was just in a phase. Relationships drifted away without confrontation. Invitations slowed, then stopped. People moved. Married. Had kids. I sent cards. Made donations. Left polite comments on photos. I told myself I was happy for them. I think I was. I just didn't know where I fit anymore. I tried dating again in my late 40s. Apps. Awkward coffee meetings. Polite conversations that never went anywhere. I didn't know how to explain myself without sounding like a warning label. I wasn't unhappy exactly. I just wasn't alive in the way people expect when they're building a life with someone. Eventually, I stopped trying. Not out of bitterness. Out of fatigue. I told myself some people are just built differently. More solitary. More self-contained. I wore that explanation like a coat that didn't quite fit but kept the cold out. The years kept passing. At 55, I had a mild heart scare. Nothing catastrophic. A hospital stay. Tests. Doctors are telling me I need to slow down. Reduce stress. Reevaluate priorities. I nodded. Took notes. Promised changes. I went back to work 2 weeks later and changed almost nothing. What I didn't expect was how shaken I felt afterward. Not scared of dying exactly. Just aware that I had been living like time was theoretical. It wasn't. That awareness didn't transform me. It didn't spark a reinvention. It just made everything sharper. Louder in my head. Harder to ignore. I started noticing the absence more than the presence. The empty chair at the table. The silence when I turned off the TV. The fact that if something happened to me, it might take days for someone to notice. That thought followed me around. The turning point came last year, though I didn't recognize it as such at first. A coworker I'd known for decades retired. We went out for a small farewell lunch. Sandwiches. Paper plates. The usual speeches about dedication and loyalty. As he was leaving, he hugged me. Longer than expected. He said, "Don't wait too long, Robert. It goes fast." I smiled. Made a joke. Watched him walk out. I went back to my desk and sat there for a long time without opening my email. That night, I went home and realized I didn't have anyone to tell about the lunch. Or the hug. Or the feeling it left me with. That's when it hit me, quietly but completely. I had been postponing my life, assuming there would be a moment when it all began to feel like enough. That moment doesn't arrive on its own. And sometimes it doesn't arrive at all. There are things now that can't be fixed. That's the hardest part to accept. Not that I made mistakes, but that the window to correct them closed without making a sound. I can't go back and show up differently. I can't build shared history out of intention. I can't turn my carefulness into closeness retroactively. I can't recover the years I spent waiting to feel ready. When people talk about regret, they often imagine big, dramatic choices. The road not taken. The bold move was avoided. For me, it was smaller. Softer. 1,000 reasonable decisions that added up to a life that never quite opened. I didn't fail at anything. That's what makes it so strange. I succeeded at preparing. Now, at 62, I live with the consequences of that preparation. The house is still standing. The bills are paid. The routines function. There's just no one here to witness any of it. Some evenings, I walk through the rooms and try to remember what I was saving all this for. The quiet doesn't answer. If you're listening to this and you're younger than me, I won't tell you what to do. I don't believe in that. Everyone's life is shaped by things they can't see at the time. I will tell you this, though, because it's true for me. Be careful what you postpone. Be careful what you assume will be waiting. Happiness isn't something that shows up when the conditions are perfect. It grows in the middle of the mess, the interruptions, the unfinished parts. I didn't know that. Or maybe I knew it and chose not to believe it yet. If this story meant something to you, if it felt familiar in a way you didn't expect, you're not alone in that feeling. I think more of us live this way than we admit. I don't have a neat ending for this. Just an honest one. I wake up. I make coffee. I sit by the window. And I try, now, to be present for what time I have left, even if it's quieter than I imagined. That has to be enough.